Welcome to part 2 of our SuperStaREO video series on how you can excel your career as an REO listing agent. With me is Robert Weichelt, broker extraordinaire here in San Diego County, closed over 1,300 short sales and has systems in place, knows how to train agents, even does branching, and scores in the top 1% with Freddie Mac. Part 2 of our video series, we talked about why the REO business is not going away in series number 1. Right now, what are the big myths about REO that you'd like to dispel?
You know what I'm hearing a lot from the short sale folks, if you will, is that REO is over and if you're not in, you're not getting in. Well, I disagree with that. I've interviewed asset managers all over the country, whether it be at Rio Mac or at 5-Star or just a one-on-one telephone conversation. I ask them, is REO over? They're sure hoping it's not, because you know what? They're currently an REO asset manager, and if they don't have the inventory, that means they're out of a job. So I truly think that they're giving me the right answers. Do I want all these REOs to come? No, but it kind of is what it is. So it's not over by any stretch. So the myth would be, is REO over? And I say no.
Absolutely not. What about the top 3 to 5 mistakes you see being made by the typical REO agent at any level of experience?
Well, you know what? I see a lot of the new agents signing up for these registries. Oh, I signed up with a couple of registries, 2, 3, 4, 10, however many, and they just sit there and they don't do any follow-up. Number one, you got to sign up with as many as there are out there. There's over 1,500 asset management companies alone. Sign up with all of them. Now, how do you eat an elephant, Mike? One bite at a time. So sign up with 10 a day. That's 50 a week. There's 1,500 opportunities. Oh, I couldn't get Freddie or Fannie or B of A. That's okay. There's Fannie Mae, for instance, has 15 outsourcers at last count. There's 15 more opportunities to get Fannie Mae business. The biggest myth the biggest thing I see these new agents doing, they're only signing up with a few, and they're being impatient. They need to sign up with many and follow up, refresh your profile with these banks. The biggest thing I see doing also is they're going to these retreats, Rio Mac, 5-Star, and expecting to see asset managers, buy them a bunch of drinks, and expect to get business. Well, you know what? You're building relationships as long as you're careful, but that's not how you do it. You go to these conferences to meet other superstar agents. What are they doing? The systems are doing in place. And the biggest thing, number 3, but definitely not the least, they're not getting the proper training. They need to get trained and certified in this industry, both REO and short sale. Those are the 3 things I see agents making mistakes on.
In short sale, a lot of moving parts, very dynamic, fluid. Is it also true in REO that it's very dynamic and fluid as an REO agent to see what the banks are up to on a weekly basis?
Well, you know what? There's a lot of moving parts in real estate in general. You add a distressed component to it, in this case the REO. You've got a new thing called checking occupancy, checking to see if it's occupied and by who, getting that information to the eviction coordinator and or asset manager, negotiating cash for keys, getting the property cleaned, trashed, having the yard done, and coordinating that. So there's lots of moving parts, Mike, absolutely. And not counting the tasks. We are tasked as an REO agent to do different certain things, whether it be the BPO, the monthly report, the reimbursements. So there's a lot of moving parts, and if you don't have a well-oiled machine, it could be a problem.
Do you find that REO agents are better suited to doing REO if they're highly analytical, they don't like dealing with people so much, or is that a misnomer as well?
Well, you know, I've heard the old saying, dealing with the faceless bank. That's kind of the wrong approach, in my opinion. I think you need to treat it just like you would a normal seller. They maybe don't have that emotional attachment to the actual property, but they have an emotional attachment to the closing of that property. They're bonused based on successful closings. I think that if you're analytical and you have the systems in place, you'll do just fine in this business. But I can assure you that if you're not structured and detail-oriented, you will have a problem in real estate in general, Mike.
The holy grail of this is really getting to the asset manager, isn't that correct? So give us a few tips on how do you get past into the Wizard of Oz, if you will.
Well, you know what I do is when I go to Rio Mac dinner, we were there just last week. We went to the Rio Mac dinner in Costa Mesa, and I find that building relationships with everybody. There's 2 components of the REO relationship. There's other REO brokers that I get a chance to build relationships with, help them build their business, give them value, and in turn they find that I'm a quality REO agent, so they have no problem introducing me to their fellow asset managers at these functions. The other thing I do, Mike, is I interview these asset managers. I don't actually say, give me business. What's it going to take for me to get business? I actually asked him, what are you looking for in a successful relationship with an REO agent? So that's what I'm doing.
I think a lot of misconception is that this is an automated robotic system, but it's really people still running the show. It's about the connections you make.
At the end of the day, Mike, it's relationships. Sure, it's a very systematic industry, which I personally like because I'm a very systematic guy. My whole philosophy is building systems to deal with these moving parts. But at the end of the day, I really love getting out there. I go to just about every conference I can. I'm a people person, and I'm still building and nurturing those relationships, because at the end of the day, this is a people business.
If you could wave your magic wand, the Robert Weichelt magic wand, how would you revolutionize REO?
Well, you know what? They've done a pretty good job. I think if I could do one thing, I would put the companies, all the asset companies, on one generic BPO form like the 1003 in the mortgage business. That would be a magic wand big time.
All right, so in part 3, we're going to cover how to revolutionize your REO business. Part 1 was a beginning session. Part 2, kind of the why behind the market, what's going on with REO, how you can get more successful at REO, and in part 3 coming up, how to revolutionize and accelerate your REO business. Next time.